Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. I'm back today to bring you all episode 26 on this great Friday in April. We've got the NFL, we've got the NBA playoffs, and we've got much more in store. So let's go ahead and get right into it today. I want to start today with the football league, with the Broncos, the Denver Broncos, and the debate I've been going through in my head now for a couple weeks is this going to work this upcoming season? We all know Denver went out, they traded for Russell Wilson this offseason, and what in my opinion was one of the most lopsided trades we have ever seen in NFL history, and the Broncos benefited ginormously. Now, people are comparing this like it could be like Peyton Manning back in 2013 when he came to Denver, and honestly, after further thought, I'm in full agreement with them. Russell Wilson could fully come in here and throw 55 touchdowns like Peyton Manning did in 2013 to set the NFL touchdown regular season record and to take the Broncos to the Super Bowl. They lost to Seattle, still took the Broncos to the Super Bowl. That could be Russell Wilson this year. Nathaniel Hackett, the new Broncos head coach, he was the Packers offensive coordinator, and I loved him, so I think he's going to do great with Denver. He came out with a quote about Wilson this week, which was basically saying, I could throw 10,000 things at this guy that he hasn't seen, and somehow he's still ready for it, and he's come in day one and has been a leader for the Broncos already, which is great for them. And I want to preface my take around this and why they're going to work out with, you guys know what's happening in this league. The league is changing and offense is taking over. I've said it for weeks now. We look at Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. Both are older, defensive minded, and struggled with Russell Wilson and Brady towards the end of their careers, towards the end of their time in those places. Mike Zimmer, defensive coach, older, struggled at the end with Kirk Cousins. Brian Flores and Vic Fangio, both defensive guys, struggled offensively. It's hard for people to move on. And guys, this is relevant in America too. 40% of America never leaves the area code they were born in. People don't like change, so they double down on what they know. And that's what a lot of bad organizations go out and do. Like when the Broncos hired Vic Fangio and they had him, they ended up just having to let him go because they doubled down on defense wins championships and defensive-minded head coaches were the way to go. But the Broncos here, they're no longer doubling down. They are making a smart move and pivoting. I give teams like Denver, like Miami, a lot of credit this offseason for recognizing the game is changing. They went out, they spent a ton of money on offense, went and got themselves the right head coach, and at least for Denver, they have the right QB. I trust Denver right now more than I do Miami, but I'll give Miami credit the same. They figured it out, and we're gonna get to that in today's show. But back on Denver, there's two things you can do when there's fast and swift changes. You can adapt and pivot, or most people, you can sit there and you can double down on what you know, because it's what they believe in. If you're asking me if Nathaniel Hackett will work, I feel confident in him, and don't be shocked when you see teams with young QBs and defensive coaches be looking like the Jets. The Broncos made the right pivot, went out, got the offensive coordinator superstar hotshot from the Packers, and went and got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The defensive coaches, when they're smart, they still can't get you to the playoffs. Look at the Chargers and Justin Herbert and them missing the playoffs. Don't doubt this. The Seahawks definitely made a huge mistake getting rid of Russell Wilson. They're doubling down on defense right now and leaving their reins to Pete Carroll, which, like we've already gone over, older, defensive-minded, and struggled with Wilson towards the end. It's going down for the Seahawks and up for the Broncos. And in a few years, don't forget this either, after Brady and Rodgers are gone, Russell Wilson is going to be the oldest veteran QB left, and he's only going to be around age 35. We're also talking about a guy who takes care of his body just like Brady does. So everybody who's a big Denver Broncos fan, who's waiting for the season to start, don't be skeptical. Broncos could come out here and win the AFC West. Would not surprise me one bit. I've been looking for the holes since they traded for Russell Wilson. I said there's no way that Broncos can just go trade for Russell Wilson and they're immediately going to be Super Bowl contenders. But you look at their roster, you look at what they're doing, the way they're pivoting, the Broncos could be the next team up to make a run. Now, transitioning over to Miami, I said we were about to get to them. And like I said with the Broncos, they're finally starting to do it right and turn a corner. Tua came into this league, and he wasn't bought into. The Miami Dolphins, they played a carousel with him and Fitzpatrick. Remember how his career started. His first year he came in, Fitzmagic was also there. And for at least half the season, it was a back and forth between the two. And it wasn't back and forth between the two off the field. It was back and forth between the two on the field in NFL games. And the worst thing of all that is they would let Tua start. And until 5 minutes would come up on the clock, 5 minutes left in the game tied, they would pull the guy who started the game to put Fitzmagic in to go win it. When you spend a 5th overall pick on a guy like Tua, a guy who was already, he had a good draft report. He had some inconsistencies on his con side, but you can work through inconsistencies. It's hard for guys who are 22 or 23 years old to just get subbed out with 5 minutes left in the game when he started the last 8 weeks and there's no reason in the world for him to get subbed out. Imagine how you would feel. Obviously, that has gotten into his head, and Miami is finally starting to do the right thing and buying into him. The whole time they were skeptical of him. You were never going to get A+ QB work out of Tua when Miami was only pitching in 50%. Both sides, both parties have to be at 100% to make a relationship work. It's present in the NFL, it's present in love, everywhere. And on the latter of that, Miami spent a 5th overall pick to not even have a little bit of faith in this guy, not let him develop or learn at all. You just threw the 5th round pick, and it's like before they had their mind made up about Tua when they sent that pick out. I like what they're doing. Tua had a press conference a little while ago where he talked about leadership. He talked about his teammates in the front office, which really seemed like a leaf turning over and maybe something could be changing. Like I said, Miami's been doing what they needed to. They got themselves an offensive coach. They've been stacking up on the offensive side this offseason. They've gotten Tyreek Hill, Terron Armstead. Terron Armstead, if you don't know who that is a great offensive tackle. Raheem Mostert, who on a cheap deal, great running back too, and Chase Edmonds and Cedric Wilson. They've loaded up their offense, and they're attempting to adapt with the league. That's why even though I hate that Brian Flores is out of a job, he was a defensive-minded guy, and Miami chose to have someone that can adapt and pivot instead of staying stuck in the defenses win championships. Their new head coach, Mike McDaniel, he's an offensive guy, like I said before, and while I think Denver might be getting the ball rolling a little bit faster, everyone who's a fan of the Miami Dolphins, you need to be excited. They're on the right track, at least for now. Going on to another team, hopping over to the NFC side of things, I want to talk about the Carolina Panthers a little bit today. My home state team. I'm not a big fan of them, but it's time to talk about them with the QB debate, what to do at QB with all that going on. Sam Darnold, I think it's obvious to everybody, he is not the answer. You've got guys coming up. They're still on the board in the draft. Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. I think Panthers are drafting 6th overall. So Panthers could get Kenny or Malik. Both two guys who you're going to have to develop, would probably play similar to Sam Darnold their first year, but is the better long-term bet. And then there's still 2 guys free agent-wise, Baker Mayfield and Jimmy G, who I think Baker would be perfect in Carolina. Carolina, it's a good team. It's a good team without a good QB. And you can't tell me in the AFC South, which is outside of the Bucs, a bum division, especially with Matt Ryan and Sean Payton gone from it now, you can't tell me that Carolina would not be a wild card team at least 50% of the time with a good QB. I know it's not great, just barely making the playoffs. But what did I say to you all earlier today? There are teams who recognize things, there's teams that pivot and change, and then there's teams that continue to double down and spiral out of control. And now for 27 years of the Carolina Panthers organization being alive, they have doubled down and blown up, been a bomb. Panthers have been alive for 27 seasons. They have played a total of 17 playoff games, with 10 of those just coming within 3 seasons. They have no Lombardi trophies to show for it either. They have made the playoffs just 8 out of 27 seasons and have never made them in back-to-back years. Now, since 2017, they've been in a complete tailspin and have not even gotten close to making the wild card round. I don't think Matt Rule is necessarily the issue here either. Similar to Denver and Miami, Carolina's hope is to recognize the changing game, which, looking at their roster, they are really just a talented QB away from a great offense. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. They have great playmakers on this field, and Matt Rule is an offensive guy. He has been dealt a bad hand at the most important position on the field, especially in today's game. I mean, hell, they tried to bring in Cam Newton mid-season to save them from Sam Darnold. You guys know how that went. They brought in Cam trying to save them. Remember the conversations we had around them the whole season. They began 3-0. Darnold was protecting the ball and playing like a half-decent QB, and they were winning. But when your point guard, your pitcher, your QB clearly isn't a star, it doesn't take long in the grown men's league to show that, and for teams to be able to start picking them apart. That the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, teams are still learning about each other. No one has film. No one knows what teams are going to do. But after 3 weeks, the real colors start to show. And with QBs getting paid $40 million now, like top 7 QBs in the league, all $40 million or above, and being such a big part of today's game, until the Panthers at least get a decent guy, they won't find consistency to make the playoffs, which I think is the number one thing they need to be looking for. Next thing on today in the NFL, we got the Derek Carr contract. I've got a couple short topics here to talk about with the NFL, rattle out real quick. Derek Carr contract, 3 years, $121 million. He is now the 7th highest paid person in the league at $40 million a year. He said that he only wants to play in Las Vegas. You know, I saw this contract, and it's one of those players, Derek Carr. He's good, but he's not great, and he leaves you sitting there scratching your head. But the way I made sense of it, and to where I'm a little bit more okay with it, I don't think Derek Carr deserves 40 a year, probably 30 to 35, but in my opinion, you have to look at this QB market this offseason and the QBs that are currently in this league. Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback in this league. He just is. He's a really good player, and Las Vegas has been up and down for years, and they went through the whole John Gruden thing this past season and the Henry Ruggs thing, and who stepped up? Who was their leader? Derek Carr. It just came to my mind. Stuff like the Henry Ruggs situation, when Derek Carr came to the press conference the next morning, he had a press conference and he said, I just want to let everybody know that I know what Henry Ruggs did was wrong, but I still reached out to him last night because everybody needs someone there for them, even if they do something awful like he did. Ruggs still needed a guy there for him, and Carr was willing to step up and be that leader to be able to be there for his friend, even though he knew his friend effed up. He was still able to man up and be there for him because he knew someone needed to be there for him. That's what you're getting out of Derek Carr, and I think that's why they paid him. That alone, in my opinion, that can bring a team together like talent can't do. A loving, leading quarterback That's how Tom Brady was for years. Tom Brady, we've talked about it. He might not have been the best quarterback, might not have had the best arm. But what did he have? He had IQ and he had relationships with his teammates that made everything elite. Next topic today, I want to go to the Packers real quick. We saw yesterday they signed Sammy Watkins to a 1-year, $4 million deal. And I was a little bit mixed emotions about this. Sammy Watkins, in my eyes, I was looking at his stats. He's going to come in this year, get between 500 and 700 yards receiving, 3 and 5 touchdowns. He's getting older. He's been getting injured, not playing all the games every year. I think he's going to be a good replacement for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. But my big problem is if you go put Sammy Watkins on the Rams, he is going to be a rotating 4 at best. Him and Van Jefferson will be competing for the 4 spot. But on our team, on the Packers, he's going to be a 2 or a 3 because they have no one. You look at the Rams. The Rams, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, likely Odell. I know it's not a for sure yet. Likely Odell. And then Van Jefferson at their 4. Van Jefferson could come to the Packers today and be the number 1 wide receiver for the team. And he's the 4th over on the Rams. If you look at his stats from the last few years, if he can stay healthy, he'll bring in 700 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns. But until the Packers get their number 1 squared away and get something for a number 2, they're still going to be miles behind everybody, all the other elite teams in the league, especially the Rams and the Chiefs. The Rams and the Chiefs are the best at having elite wide receivers and looking long-term to get wide receivers. However, Packers still have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks in this upcoming draft, 4 picks within the top 60. So a lot can happen, and many trades can go down. I expect them to draft a receiver, and then maybe something like a first-round pick and Jordan Love for DK Metcalf could happen. But definitely something does need to happen, and a trade does need to go down. If the Packers look to only build their wide receivers through the draft class, it's going to turn into a tragedy. Going on in the next sport today, I want to talk for a quick second about the Masters and Scottie Scheffler before we get on to the NBA playoffs. And I just want to send a big congratulations to Scottie Scheffler. He won his fourth tournament in the last 6. He triple putted 18 and still won by 3 strokes. He was at -10. He put up absolutely phenomenal performance at Augusta, and I just wanted to send a big congratulations out to Scottie. The PGA Championship is coming up in about a month. He's going to be great there, and then after that, we are going to be able to see Tiger Woods playing at the British Open at St. Andrews. It's going to be great. He confirmed it after he was done with his round on Sunday that he would be playing at St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf. It's going to be historic, just like every time Tiger takes the field. And I know you guys are all just as excited as I am. It's going to be a great time. I can't wait. So now getting on the big topic for today, we've got the NBA playoffs. They officially start tomorrow. It's going to be an amazing time. NBA playoffs, it is one of my favorite times of the year. Personally, I don't watch the NBA much through the regular season. But when playoffs start, once April, May, and June come, especially June, June's the best. When those months come, I'm into the NBA, and it is great. This year, I've got all my picks for you, all the way to the championship. Let's go ahead and jump into the bracket today. I've got the Heat. They're the number 1 seed overall in the East. I've got the Heat winning in the first round with the depth of talent they have. The experience on Miami is just better than any team they'll go up against. And they have the best scoring bench in the league. For the first round, Miami will definitely catch a win. Move on to round 2. Next game up, we've got the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Toronto Raptors. It's a tough one for me, but I think I have to take the 76ers here in a 7-game series just because of who the main guy is on the Raptors. Who's the main guy on the Raptors? Who are you going to go to on Toronto Raptors? Siakam? Van Vliet? While on the 76ers, I know I've got 2 guys and Harden and Embiid, who are two of the best closers on the planet. That alone should be able to win this for Philly within about 6 games, I'd say. Next series, we've got the Bucks versus the Bulls. I think this is going to be a great series. However, though, Bucks, they will take care of business. They've played them 4 times this year, the Bucks have, and they've beaten the Bulls all 4 times. The Bulls are young, and DeRozan has been balling this season after being slept on during the offseason. Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball have stepped up, but Lonzo is out. Like I said, the Bulls are young overall. They don't have a ton of experience. The Bucks are coming off of a championship win and are going to get to the second round. The Bulls have also just consistently struggled against good teams this year. Bucks should be able to lock this one up pretty easily. Next series we got today, we got the Nets versus the Celtics. I think the Nets are going to take them here. It's another great revenge series for Kyrie. And when KD and Kyrie play together, they're 11-6 overall. Ben Simmons will play, which is a huge, huge defensive boost for Brooklyn. The Celtics lost their defensive star in Robert Williams. So I've got to take the Nets here to win in 5 or 6. I think Boston will take a game or 2 at home. It's just with it being a revenge series for Kyrie, him hardly being able to play this season, a franchise he's always been chirpy with, and the Nets having 2 of the best players in the world in KD and Kyrie, I think the Nets just have to get it done here. Now that we've got, moving on to the second round, we've got Miami versus Philly and the Bucks versus the Nets. Miami versus Philly to start. This is such a tough one for me because I love Miami. I love Jimmy Butler. Love Tyler Hero, Robinson, all those guys. Miami is the better bench team and has more chemistry, but you guys need to know something. Benches historically shrink in the playoffs and do not become as important, and the 76ers are going to have the 2 best closers on the floor. Butler may be a great player, but he's a great athlete, and he's not an elite closer like Embiid and Harden. In the playoffs, it comes down to me. Who are the best closers on the floor? Philly has 2 of them. They've got the top 2, so I got to take Philly there. Going on to the second round game, I think this is when the Nets meet their ceiling. Unlike the Celtics, the Bucks will have the best closer on the floor in Giannis and will be able to handle the Nets much better defensively, especially now that Brook Lopez is back. It shapes up to be Bucks for 76ers for Eastern Conference Finals. And purely for me, due to experience, size, and defensive ability with Brook Lopez, the Bucks are just the better team here. We kind of just threw together the Philadelphia 76ers in my eyes. Right before the trade deadline, they had that massive trade. They were getting rid of Seth Curry, bringing in Harden, all these moving pieces. We kind of just threw the Philadelphia 76ers together. Milwaukee knows exactly who they are. They've been here before, and they're hungry to get back. So out of the East, I've got the Milwaukee Bucks making the NBA Finals for the 2nd year in a row. Now, moving on to the Western Conference Finals. In the first game, it's going to be the Suns. I don't think this is close. Doesn't matter who they play. The Suns, when you watch them, it is one of the most brilliant teams in my eyes who are angry and want another chance at this. Phoenix, I was watching some film from them the other night, and they were playing the 76ers. And the way that they isolated Harden the entire game on defense, and they were able to break it down to where literally Harden was put on an island the entire night. There was nothing anyone could do about it because Chris Paul is the best ball handler in the league. If someone switches, Chris Paul is going to make you pay. Phoenix is smart, and they're angry. It's not going to be pretty for whoever has to play them in the first round, or it's not going to be pretty for the other team in the first round. Moving on to the next game, Dallas Mavericks versus the Jazz. It's very hard to predict for me because of Luka's injury, and the last couple of games they played, the Jazz won. I think I think the Mavs are the better team, but Luka's injuries makes me think this is going to be a much closer series. We know he's going to at least be out for one game. Game 1 he's for sure out for. He could be out for game 2. I think I still have to take the Mavs here. The Mavs could fall 0-1, and Luka's going to come back and could go and win it 4-1. I just love Luka Doncic. He's great. I love Mark Cuban, and I hope to see the Mavs win it. They're the 4 seed. The Jazz are the 5 seed. It's a pretty even series, but I think the Mavs got the better talent and will be able to get it done. Next game, Golden State versus Denver. Here, I've got the Warriors over the Nuggets. Golden State has the playoff experience, playoffs wins, and are the better defensive team. And Jamal Murray and Michael Porter, two huge guys for the Nuggets, both offensively and defensively, are both out. I think it's going to be an interesting series. Golden State is a very, very small team compared to Denver, which is one of the biggest in the league. But I have to take the team with more talent, better defense, and more playoff experience to win, which is Golden State. The last game of the first round, we've got Memphis versus the Timberwolves. I think Memphis will handle business very easily here. It might take 5, 6, 7 games. It might even take 7 games. But it's not going to be the series that it looks like. Both teams are very young, and in situations like that, I think it just has to go to the team with more talent, which Memphis has by a mile. With 2 young rosters, you just got to look at that. That's all I have to look at. In Memphis, I think they're the better team, especially with John Morant. It's time for him to go win a playoff series and start proving to the league who he is. Moving on to the second round today, we have the Suns versus the Mavs and Golden State versus Memphis. Suns and Mavs. Suns went 3-0 against Dallas this season. Like I said, the Suns are one of the smartest and fastest teams I've seen play all season. They are hungry, and you can tell that it's not going to be a hurt Luka and the Mavs that are going to stop them from getting themselves back to the Western Conference Finals. The Suns want this like no other team in the league. And if you watch them, when you see them in the playoffs, everybody's going to understand what I'm saying about they're playing harder, they're playing faster, and they're playing angrier than anyone else right now. Golden State versus Memphis, the other second round game. I think Golden State easily handles business here. They're experienced with a great defense, like I said. They've got the wins, they've got all that. And Memphis, they're incredibly young. They have talent. They have John Morant. But I got to take the team that's more talented, with a better defense, with more experience. In the Western Conference Finals, we're going to have Golden State versus the Phoenix Suns, which in my opinion could be the best series out of the entire playoffs and will go to 7 games. I think I just have to take the Suns here because what we have talked about already, them being angrier and just fast. The Warriors have also been a little banged up as of late and are on the smaller side of teams, which they will be going up against the Suns, which, like I said, they're angry. They're going to beat up on the Warriors. And with them playing one of the smartest teams that are out there right now, I don't think Golden State, with how small of a team they are, will be able to get it done. In the finals, it's setting up again. You guys have probably noticed by now. I think it's going to be Milwaukee versus Phoenix yet again, a repeat of last year. However, though, the Suns have a chip on their shoulder. It's very hard to repeat a title in this league. So I think the Phoenix Suns will win it this year. And everyone that might be upset that it could be the same 2 teams again, no one ever seemed to complain when it was always Lakers Celtics. These are the 2 best teams in the league with the best coaches, the best players, the best defenses, and the best organizations. And I think the Suns will win the title this year in 6 games over the Bucks. Now, before I get out of here today, if I had to give you guys one dark horse team to make it through the playoffs, I would have to say the Brooklyn Nets. On any given night, you have KD and Kyrie, who are the two of the best overall players in the world. And on any given night, they can beat any given team. The only big worry for me, with them being the dark horse team, is they're going to have to go up against the Bucks in the second round. And due to defense and Lopez coming back, I really do not think Brooklyn can beat the Bucks. But hey, like I said, they have KD, Kyrie, two of the best overall players in the world. Anything can happen when you put two guys like that together. So if you're looking for a dark horse, go with Brooklyn. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of the Adam Eisen Show. It has been an awesome 26 episodes, and I will see you all next week for the 27th. Peace.